let's talk about the possibility. Now, again, this is not a report. This is right now. It's kind of a rumor. Jeff Goodman did talk about it on his show, Field of 68. The popular burner account, Trilly Donovan, who breaks a lot of college basketball news, has talked about it. But it looks like West Virginia's in the mix for one of the top scorers in the transfer portal, Treysen Eaglestaff from North Dakota State. What were your initial thoughts when you first heard that rumor floating around earlier today?
Yeah, so I think for a lot of people coming coming into the portal originally, he was a huge prospect. What would have been a huge addition for anybody, and then committed to South Carolina, and so things kind of got quiet for a little bit, and then all of a sudden today, the reports coming out that potentially going to West Virginia. I think it's worth noting if you want to just kind of compare what type of player we're talking about here. There were some major programs in line with him when he elected to go or commit originally to South Carolina. Kentucky was involved, Kansas involved, Gonzaga was involved. And as it kind of says on the headline here, almost 19 points a game and put up 40 against Alabama. This kid can score. Yeah. When I look at this roster that Ross Hodge is putting together, first off, I'll say I like what I see. But I feel like you're missing maybe one key component. And boy, Eaglestaff kind of fits that need, right? Somebody that can come in and get some points and get them in a hurry. And so he feels that for you. Again, this is all kind of a little speculation, I guess, but some pretty notable and reputable sources are saying it. So probably has a little bit more there. But yeah, somebody that I really like, if you can put him with some of the guys that have already came in, apparently there's a connection there with him and Ross Hodge. Don't quite know what the ins and outs of that are, but obviously when you're battling out Kansas and Gonzaga and Kentucky and South Carolina, there's a need here and somebody that would be a nice addition as Ross Hodge comes into year one at West Virginia.
Yep, absolutely. It would be huge. I mean, you put him alongside of Honor Huff, who we'll talk about in a minute, and I mean the scoring that those two guys can give you. And then with Jasper Floyd at the point guard spot, who we'll talk about as well in a minute. I mean, I really like the pieces. I mean, to me, I said it on a show previously, maybe even been with you. It's like they're putting a puzzle together, right? He started off with the centerpiece, literally being the center, the 7-footer, right? Bioha. Then you added a long forward with length who can play above the rim and play defense. Then you go out and you add pieces around that. I mean, I really like their methodology here. And DeVries kind of started building with guards first and then tried to get a big man late. And to be honest with you, they tried on several and missed. And then they did end up getting Andre, but I think they were going after some more. They wanted one or two more bigs and weren't able to get them. So Hodge is kind of going the opposite approach. He went and got a big man first. Yeah. And he's going to build around that. What do you think about that approach?
Yeah, I think if anything, I think a lot of people in West Virginia land kind of look back at last season, even though it's a little bit different. And just you saw the need as the season went on, the need for the big man. So I love the fact that he established that early. Mm-hmm. I will say that I do think, and it is early in this roster reconstruction, so want to be a little bit careful here and give the benefit of the doubt. But I think that, and Ross Hodge knows this, you're going to want to continue to add some depth pieces with size, especially battling every week in the Big 12. But so I think they'll continue to do that. So I love the philosophy there. Mm-hmm. For me, though, when I think of Eaglestaff, one of the things that really jumped out at me, Couz, is he was like a 36% three-point shooter, shot about 7 or just over 7 threes a game.
Yeah.
So we know that Hodge is going to bring a defensive mentality.
Right.
But he's not necessarily foregoing the scoring part of it either. And you take somebody like Eaglestaff who can put points up in a hurry and combine him with, say, Honor Huff, that we've seen the highlight tapes on what he can do. It gets pretty exciting to see offensively what West Virginia could do because it looked like everything was trending defensively under Hodge and what we know from him previously, right?
Right.
So I like that aspect, but I do think with Jackson Fields in the molds, and I think with with Harlan, they're going to have to continue to add pieces there. But I like so far how this roster is kind of constructing itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed. I was trying to find. I thought Jeff Goodman. He said it on a show today. It wasn't on X. He did say. I think he said it on his show. But Jeff Goodman did say that he thinks West Virginia is in the lead right now for Eaglestaff. So I mean,
Jeff Goodman on the Field of 68 stream, which Jeff does. Yeah, he did note that you never know in this day and age that Kentucky could come in and throw a lot of cash. But if he was a betting man, I think that was the term he used. Yeah. If I was a betting man, I'd put my money on West Virginia.
And interestingly enough, there was a picture that popped up today during all this. Apparently he was working out yesterday or last night with Toby Oconee of West Virginia. So, and then Toby puts out a video earlier, which I haven't had a chance to watch yet. Somebody sent it to me, saying goodbye to West Virginia. So, Toby Oconee, I think, is going to have good things to say about the Mountaineer program and may even be trying to recruit Eaglestaff to West Virginia, which would be really cool that he's that bought in, even though his coach left and it didn't probably end the way he wanted it to. So let's hope that's what's happening here. But there are a lot of good signs pointing in West Virginia's direction. I just don't want to get my hopes up too high yet. But it's definitely a possibility, and it would be a huge get for when you can, like you said earlier, when you can get a guy away from Kentucky and Kansas and Gonzaga and the big name brands of college basketball. And you're doing something.
And I would just caution everybody too. Maybe the likelihood of it occurring twice is less than just the one time. But in the world that we are in now with the portal and with NIL, keep in mind this was a young man in Eaglestaff that got into the portal. He committed to South Carolina, and then immediately backed out of that, or not immediately, but relatively quick, backed out of that. So until he signed, you don't really feel good about it. But it is nice to hear Jeff and Trilly and some of those guys who have a strong reputation for being pretty accurate. It is nice to hear them with West Virginia mentioned. So definitely something to keep an eye on. And I'll tell you, Couz, I got to be honest. If Ross Hodge can land Treysen Eaglestaff on this roster, there's still work to do. But if you start checking off the boxes, right, he's got a point guard. He's got a scoring shooting guard. He's got a scoring forward. He's got a couple big men, and I'm including Fields in that, especially with Harlan down that 7-footer down low. Now you're looking to add some pieces, some depth pieces. So you really, when you start to look at this roster, you have to appreciate what Hodge has done so far. And it would just be up to one more level if Eaglestaff happens to wind up in Morgantown.
Agreed. Hey, do me a favor. Go check out my good friends over at Appalachia Digital. If you need a brand new website for your small business, or if you're just looking to get found easier on Google, go check out AppalachiaDigital.com/Couz. These are the fine folks who designed my brand new website over at WVSportsChat.com. They did a fantastic job. I love their work. I think you will too. So go check them out. AppalachiaDigital.com/Couz. Let them know Couz sent you. I also want to thank them for supporting my work here at Couz's Corner and at Hoops from the Hills. Now let's get back to the show. All right. Speaking of additions, they added a point guard in the mix. This one is official. I don't know about official, but it's has been officially announced, but it has been in the media, reported in the media, and that's Jasper Floyd of North Texas, following Ross Hodge to West Virginia. He's a 6'3" point guard, averaged about 9 a game last year at North Texas for the Mean Green. I like this addition, Jonathan. Now he's not going to be he's not the splashy name that you get in a Eaglestaff, with the 18.9 points a game, and not even Honor Huff for that matter, who's hit 300 or over 100 and some 133s. I was trying to think what the number was. Who hit over 133s last year? But you got Jasper Floyd, a guy who's experienced in Ross Hodge's system. He knows how to run the offense and defense. Yeah. He'll know how to run that in what they call a no-middle defense, which, by the way, is very interesting if you ever get a chance to do some research on that. But anyway, He's 6'3", which is a good size for a point guard, right? And he may not be an immediate scoring threat, but he's a guy who handles the ball a lot and often, and effectively. I mean, a lot and effectively in that North Texas offense. So, what do you think about the addition of Jasper Floyd?
Yeah, well, I feel like this is an old school Golden Blue breakdown show where you and I don't discuss things previously, right, but somehow we wind up on the same points. Yeah, so the first thought I had is just the familiarity with Ross Hodge in North Texas. This is somebody that's going to come in and he's not going to be taught a new scheme. He's actually going to be a leader on the floor. And hey, we talked about this. I think it was last episode. What Floyd would mean, and one of the things that we discussed was on the floor. This is somebody that can help Ross Hodge in terms of what we can orchestrate and how we can kind of teach other new guys the philosophy and the scheme and things like that. So the first thought is just that he kind of knows what's going on. The second was 6'3", stands out. It has to, right? I mean, size is huge, especially in the Big 12 conference. So it's nice to see him in the Big 12. He's going to be going up weekly against guys that are 6'3", 6'4", and to be able to compare size-wise to those guys is a huge benefit. And I'd also just say that, at 9 points a game, the way this roster is working itself out, he doesn't necessarily need to score 15 to 18 points a night.
Exactly.
So that's it's putting pieces into place. And I guess finally I'd say I went back whenever it was kind of rumored that he was going to be following Hodge to West Virginia. And then finally when they announced his commitment, I went back and watched some videos. And one thing that really caught my attention was before the season last year, you know how ESPN always does this walk the floor and they ask questions with the player.
Mm-hmm.
North Texas kind of did one of the things that was similar. And they asked him what his goals were. And he said, lead the nation. I think it was the nation in assists. He didn't say I wanted to score 20 a game. He didn't say I wanted to hit X amount of threes. He said I want to lead the nation in assists. There was one more thing he mentioned. I can't remember what it was exactly, but I know assists jumped out to me.
Yeah.
So a floor general, a leader, and if you can put Huff and an Eaglestaff on the wings on the perimeter with Jasper Floyd, again, all of a sudden this roster starts looking pretty good, and you've got a 6'3" point guard who can help facilitate.
Yep. Yeah, and he averaged 4 assists a game, so and 1.3 steals a game. So you've got somebody that you can put at the top of that defense to guard the ball and do it effectively, get steals. Yeah. And he's really, really good with the ball in his hands. Like I said, he's not an elite shooter. He is good at making tough shots.
Yeah.
But he's not a guy you're going to look at, like you said, to score 15 a night. But if he can get you 6, 7, 8 a night and dish out 4 or 5 assists a night and get you a steal or 2.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's all you ask for.
And I would encourage you to go watch his highlights. I'll tell you where he gets a lot of his points in the paint because he loves to drive. And hey, who doesn't love a lefty?
That's right, man.
A lefty point guard. I mean, who doesn't love a lefty? So, you're right. He's not living and dying behind the 3-point line. And so if you'll look actually some of the highlights I saw, there were some offensive rebounds in there too. So he's not afraid to get in and mix it up. So, but again, he doesn't have to be somebody the way this roster is shaping up. He doesn't have to be the guy who goes out and gets 15, 18 points a night. That's going to take care of itself, especially if Eaglestaff does indeed sign with West Virginia.
Yeah. Shaq in the house, who's a VIP member on the channel, he says, like, share, and subscribe. 24 likes and 95 people watching. Give these guys a like they deserve. Thank you, Shaq. We appreciate it. Appreciate the love, man. I know we're competing with a lot of other shows tonight, but that's okay. When you put Floyd on the floor with a guy like Eaglestaff, and then if you add Honor Huff in the mix, who is another guy who has officially signed now, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, what a combination that would be, right? Huff
Yeah.
he's only 5'10", but man, can he shoot the basketball? 130 for 300 and something, 301 maybe, something like that from 3-point range. I mean, absolutely unbelievable score. If you have him and Eaglestaff together, man, it'll be a 3-point. It might just be a 3-point shootout every night, man. I don't know. It'd be fun to watch, though. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Honor Huff's game?
Yeah, I mean, admittingly, if we're being honest, the 5'10" kind of makes you pause for a second, right? But then you go watch these highlight videos. First off, he's tough as nails. Doesn't appear to be afraid of anything. Most of his highlights are 3-point shots, but he's not afraid to put the ball on the floor and drive. But here's the thing about his size: if you'll look at his videos, boy, he gets that ball off quick, Couz. And so, when North Texas, I was going to say North Texas, when West Virginia with Ross Hodge spreads the floor, there's so many North Texas guys coming in.
Yeah.
And they can spread the floor, man, he gets that shot off quick. And then all of a sudden, if you can, and I hate to keep going back to Eaglestaff, but if you can put him on the floor as well, now all of a sudden the defense has got to pay a lot of attention there too. And so it just opens up for Huff. So huge player that they picked up right there, and somebody that can spread the floor. So it is funny, and I alluded to this earlier. When you hear Ross Hodge, you think about defense, and it's not to say that's not going to be priority number one, but all of a sudden you think to yourself, man, we've got some guys that can score the basketball.
Yeah,
and so it's pretty exciting.
Yeah. And his team's one thing that I think doesn't get noticed enough because of his defense. It is so good, and that's kind of his calling card. Is his team shoot the ball well from three?
Yeah,
they do shoot it well from three. They run a slower paced, or at least in the past they have run a slower paced, methodical offense, shooting the ball late in the shot clock. But you know what that means? It means you're shooting a lot of 3-pointers. So you got to have guys that can shoot it, and that's kind of what they do. And by gosh, he's getting guys to do it. But don't just because these guys are scorers don't mean they can't shoot. Don't mean they can't play defense, right? And I think that's something we need to be aware of.
Well, and I don't think that Hodge is going to take a guy unless he feels good about the fact he can play defense. Look, I don't believe Hodge is just looking to take a Huff or an Eaglestaff potentially just because they can get him 20 points a night. If they're giving up 22, it doesn't matter. And if you'll go back and just watch and learn a little bit about Ross Hodge, defense is, again, that's priority number one. So I don't think he's going to sacrifice the defensive side of the ball just to get some points.
Yep, agreed. The other player that got added during the week was Jackson Fields. I drew a blank on the name there for a second.
Yeah,
Jackson Fields from Troy, 6'8", 210-pound forward, averaged about 7.9 points, 4.8 rebounds. Here's what I like about him when you add him with Jasper Floyd. Jasper Floyd is really, really good handling the ball in pick and roll situations. When you watch Jackson Fields' highlights, what's he really good at? He's the roll guy in the pick and roll, and you can feed him the ball off the pick and roll and score in the paint with him. That's what I love about him on the offensive side. And of course, defensively, he gives you another guy who's long, lengthy, which again is really, really important, running that no middle defense.
Yep.
And he's going to also rebound the ball for you. So I really like this. He's another big, so to speak, that you can add to the mix with Lorient and with Obioha. So again, just the puzzle pieces fitting together. It's not just going out and finding a bunch of good players. It's going out and finding a bunch of good players who fit and each have a role on the team.
Yep.
And you can gel with the other guys and what they do well. You know what I'm saying? That's what I like about what he's doing here. What are your thoughts on Fields?
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of Lorient. He's just athletic, who's 6'8", 210, and there are some reports that may be even bigger than 6'8". But I'll tell you what really intrigues me by him. He started 33 of 34 games last year. So somebody that's getting a lot of court action, kind of a veteran guy, almost 8 points, 5 rebounds, and shot almost 50% from the field, Couz. So his shot selection is good. If you can get up to almost 50% from the field, that's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But you look at somebody, again, 33 of 34 starts. It's somebody that's comfortable being on the floor, familiar in-game situations. And when I look at somebody that is, when you're putting this roster together and it's year one, Jackson Fields is the guy that I want on my team.
Yep.
He's a little bit of do it everything. He's going to play some defense. He's going to rebound. He shoots the ball well. So yeah, he's somebody almost kind of reminds you of a little bit of a Toby O'Connie, actually, in a way, kind of similar. And so just somebody that's got a little bit of a veteran presence out there, and I think he's a nice addition to the team.